Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's episode we're going to be doing the rest of the kingpin install, along with a lot of grinding and painting, hopefully cleaning up the rest of this axle so we can put it all back together the rest of the way. So in the last episode we installed the upper kingpin pins, and this one we're going to be installing the lower kingpin cap and bearing race. Probably not going to do the bearings because I don't want to pack those with grease and put all those in until I'm actually ready to put the knuckle on and all that stuff. So for this one, we're just cleaning up the housing a little bit and installing the lower race. So this is what the lower part, right now the axle's upside down. This is where the lower bearing will sit in here. You'll have a little cap that goes in first, followed by a race. And then your bearing is packed with grease, ends up going in there, followed by a seal in the actual bottom kingpin pin thing. So this is the upper, this is the lower. As you can see, I've already cleaned up the end, the C here, quite a fair bit. Still need to grind on the differential on the axle tubes a fair bit to get that cleaned enough for paint. But for now, we're going to install the cap and the race, and then probably tape it off to keep the C itself clean while I continue to grind, and then paint everything once it's all said and done. So right now I have the bearing in the freezer to help shrink it a little bit. I did mark that this particular package I'm using on the passenger versus driver side, just so I kept the bearing and races together. So I'm going to go snag that and put it in. Alright, so this is the cap. It goes like this, where this side faces the bearing, this side goes up top. So that drops in like that. That's all there's to it. Now I'm using a aluminum seal driver, bearing driver kit. This is from Harbor Freight. In this case, the 63mm one. Is about the same size as the outside edges of the race. So I'm gonna go snag it from the freezer, drop it in, and hopefully tap it in, no problem. It's the sound of full seat. And that's what it looks like when the race is in there. So the bearing will sit in there, and there's a little seal that goes on the outside, and that's all there's to it. Alright, well, I think we're done for the night. This one actually started going crooked, so I had to bash it out real quick with a socket. So I bent the cap a little bit, but got it straightened up and hammered all the way back in. So I just let the race kind of flatten out the cap while I was at it. So, but yeah, I think that's it for tonight. Alright guys, so getting back at this axle build here. was messing around the other night, trying to find full bump and stuff, because it's kind of where you got to start, so you can figure out where all your other suspension components go. I do need to put the knuckles on so I can get the steering arm on, and then be able to hopefully find full bump from there, because I'm guessing the drag link is going to hit first, and I also need to know the swing of the steering arm so that I can ideally place the track bar mount as well. So what I'm going to do tonight is unbox these knuckles from Solid Axle Industries, and I'm going to get them mounted. I'm not going to do everything yet, as in I'm not putting the spindle studs in, the spindles, the hubs, all that, because there's some machine work that needs to be done to the hubs for the ABS, and I also need to obviously paint everything. So I'm just kind of putting this all assembled. I'll grease everything up, but largely do it pretty dry, so that I can just find full bump without, and then I'll take everything apart, get it all final painted at some point once I have everything completely cycled and in a happy spot, and then I'll do the final assembly. But I'll kind of walk you through how to put all the knuckles on the kingpins, at least here. So check it out. Alright, so this is what one of the knuckles from Solid Axle Industries looks like. I chose them for a few reasons. One, they make quality stuff. Two, on the steering arm side, the factory knuckles only have 4 bolt holes, and they don't have these keyways. These keyways lock in to the steering arms so that all your load from your steering arm gets put against the keyway here, versus 4 studs. Now there are 6 obviously holes here that it gets bolted down to, but all your load gets put on this. So this is taking all the shear strength versus the studs themselves. They've also added extra ribbing and casting material to various parts, so overall a lot beefier than the factory knuckles. All your stock parts and pieces, minus the steering arm, so all your kingpin components, the spindles, all that jazz, will all work with these. It's just a little more extra beef in certain areas, and for the price point, you couldn't really beat it. So these are the knuckles that'll be going on. Okay, so this is upside down, right? But this is how the lower goes together. Obviously earlier you saw me put the race in and the cap. So then you pack the bearing full of grease, which I will, and you tap the seal on, and then once you slide the knuckle over, this is the lower kingpin, that's what it looks like. It will slide in here like that, and you tighten it down. I want to say about 80 foot-pounds on those bolts. For mock-up, I don't know if I'll go that tight, but and that's all there's to it. Alright, well, I've got both the knuckles on. This is what they look like. Beefy steering arm, nice cap. As you can see, 6 bolts. Got both sides on here. So up next, I'm going to basically make a mock-up tie rod and then work on a mock-up drag link and track bar so I can hopefully find full stuff. Alright guys, been working on basically full stuff. So working on clearances for the drag link, track bar, upper link mount, so on and so forth. So right now, looks like just about everything clears. Still trying to figure out some track bar clearance at the diff. Obviously this is at full stuff, so not ride height. Ride height would be sitting a little bit, you know, a few inches lower than this, hopefully. But this is the obviously driver's side. I'm just using the PVC. It's about 1 inch in 5/8, so a little bit thicker than the actual tube that's being used. But if you go over here to the passenger side, this is where all the, you could say, important clearance stuff is. So you got drag link, track bar. Still kind of working on some track bar issues. Obviously at ride height, as it droops, will clear the diff and the diff cover better. However, at full stuff, it's looking a little close, so trying to figure some of that out. Track bar, or I'm sorry, drag link on the other hand, sitting about a 1/2 inch-ish clearance from the frame right now, so happy about that. Should have no problem getting the coilovers in here. You know, I only have about 12-inch travel coilovers, which should put them somewhere up in this vicinity for the top of the hoop, basically. So should have no problem clearancing all that. I also was taking a look. Right now that mount fits, and kind of ballparking where the lower link will sit, and I'm still waiting for those to come back in stock from Barnes. And the upper one, I should have at least, you know, 9 inches, if not 10 inches of axle separation back there, which you want. I think the rule of thumb is about 25% of your tire size, so for 40s about 10 inches, give or take. A little bit less for 37s, but I've been told the more the better to a certain degree, so that's good. Right now everything clears. Nothing is really hooked up. I think the next step is going to be, once I can get the brackets in from Barnes, hooking, I gotta clean the links, but hooking those up to the axle and kind of getting it set, the axle hooked up to the frame, if you will, and then double checking full stuff again to see if I need to go higher or lower. I still think I might need to change that track bar mount to a certain degree, but we'll see. So anyway, that's it for this video. It might be a little while, still waiting on some parts to show up for the next set, which will be, like I said, the lower link mounts, which will go there, at least on this end, right, and getting that hooked up. And once we get that hooked up and we can finalize kind of like where everything needs to be as far as clearances for everything, once I get that hooked up, I will start, I'll tentatively make a drag link and a track bar, get those set up, and start cycling everything. If everything cycles and looks good after that, then I will start fabbing up where the coilover hoop is going to sit exactly, and where all that is going to mesh. So that's it for now, guys. We'll see you later.